Hey everyone, welcome to High School Dropouts Advice. Today we are talking about a potential buying opportunity and an exciting company that could rival Tesla. We are talking about Lucid Motors today. This video will be a little longer because we had a very interesting merge between CCIV and Lucid AIR, which has resulted in an over 50% drop of CCIV, as you can see here. So I want to explain why the prices fell so drastically, because understanding this will help you understand the stock market better. With this knowledge, you will have more tools to take advantage of the market and ultimately make money. With more knowledge, you will see opportunities. So please watch the video from the beginning to the end. But before I explain to you the drop, I want to introduce you to the company so you know what you are buying. Today we will talk about Lucid, how merger and SPAC negotiations and agreement turned out, and if Lucid is a buy at the current levels. So let's get started with the first part. Lucid Motors is an American EV car manufacturer founded in California in 2007, who will build high-end and luxury EVs and tries to rival Tesla. The CEO and CTO of Lucid Motors is Peter Rawlinson, a British engineer who worked at Tesla as the chief engineer for the Tesla Model S. He left shortly after the launch of the Model S to work at Lucid Motors on the Lucid AIR. You can see that he got an approval rating of 82%, and 83% of his employees would recommend a friend to work for Lucid Motors. So the culture within this company is great. Let me quickly mention, I prefer an 80 to 90% approval rating. Everything above that means that the boss is too nice, which is not good for us investors. Have Tesla as a comparison here. Let's have a quick look at the specs. These are specs that rivals the Model S and even exceed on paper at least. Let's have a short video. I know a picture says more than 1,000 words, but a video says more than 1,000 images. As you can see, the Lucid feels elegant, luxurious, and it feels like it's flying through the roads like a flying carpet. The Lucid Air and the name Air and the suspensions were designed to have this airy driving experience. The car should also rival cars like Mercedes, and Mercedes is well known for enhancing the driving experience. We can see that Lucid Air paid a lot of time designing the vehicle to give you a luxurious but also sports car-like driver experience. Have a look at the interior. This is very well made. The materials look good without being over the top. The design and flow feel minimalistic but naturally. I like the interior design. It feels playful but still being classy. At the same time, it's a minimalistic design, but it does not feel dry or pragmatic. The lines, shapes, forms and curves still feel natural to the build of a human. The interior of a Tesla feels more practical, too minimalistic for my taste, and is built more like for a robot, I feel like. A Lucid Air is made for someone who loves to enjoy, more playful and artsy. So for me, a Mercedes interior design lover, Lucid did an excellent job with the interior design. But all Tesla fans, don't get me wrong, I'm also a Tesla investor, and I'm actually happy that more competitors are entering the market, which will result in better cars for us consumers. Let me show you a little clip of today's interview with the CEO Peter Rawlinson, because I think we need to understand his view in which direction Lucid has to go to rival a giant like Tesla.
Peter, a large part, I think, the investor confidence or that commitment here is you. You are the chief engineer on the Tesla Model S, longtime Tesla executive. Take us through, what did you learn from building the Model S, and what are you applying to building Lucid? What did you learn?
Well, I mean, I brought with me a career of experience of designing and engineering cars. That's why I was recruited by Tesla. I brought with me a methodology where a car could be designed by a smaller team more efficiently and more scientifically. And I've augmented that learning to really take the electric car to the next step here. There's some interesting other sort of anecdotal points that I'd point to. 10 years ago, when I was chief engineer on the Model S, people began to realize that it was seriously well engineered. But they were still telling me that success was impossible. And you know why? They all said the same thing, Peter, you're wasting your time because Tesla doesn't have a brand. There's no brand associated with Tesla. 10 years on, hasn't the world changed? So I've learned this, it's reaffirmed my belief, product is king. Just as Model S defined the Tesla brand, the car behind me, Lucid Air, will define Lucid.
Product is king, is what Peter Rawlinson said. And this is very true, because I think we can imagine the EV industry as becoming a new form of tech companies. We can imagine the future of EVs like the tech race between mobile phone companies. Each year they get a little better in the specs and define the new standards year over year. The same should happen to the EV industry. The modern car will become more and more technical. With AI development and autonomous driving, a vehicle will become an extension of our home office and our smartphones. The car maker's key is to fuse the car with modern day technology, and the brand that does it the best should lead in the EV competition. A vehicle will not be just a transportation tool anymore. The question is not so much about EV or internal combustion engine cars anymore. We all know EVs will be the future, but how well can an EV car manufacturer connect technology with a car to become a smart car? This is how Peter Rawlinson put it in his words.
Hey Peter, earlier you mentioned that, speaking of Tesla, it's really a tech race between you guys, Lucid and Tesla. What did you mean by that exactly?
Well, I think that we're overtly targeting Mercedes-Benz as a competitor, as a car, as a product. But I think it's a legitimate comparison in terms of technology. I very much applaud what Tesla's done. Tesla's valuation today is based upon its provenance as a tech company. Why are the other car companies not worth as much as Tesla? Because they simply don't have the technology. And I don't think they get it. I think Tesla gets it. It recognizes this is a technology race, makes all the technology, motors, inverters, transmissions, battery pack, all that fusion with software, the all-important software, in-house. And, the other company that does that is Lucid. So I think it's a legitimate comparison. But in entering this technology race to make the most efficient, most effective electric cars, it's the customer who wins, but ultimately it's everyone, because we're all the air, and this is what the planet needs now, a rapid transition to sustainable mobility, and that can only come through healthy competition. I've not seen the traditional car companies rise to the challenge. Right now, Tesla doesn't have any competition.
If Peter Rawlinson is right, the evaluation of cars can be changed dramatically. A tech company is just evaluated differently than a car manufacturer. He also confirms my belief that it will become a tech race. It will most likely look like a Samsung versus Apple and Windows versus Mac scenario. If a company fails to innovate, it will lose the race. This would apply to EV brands as well. So let us wrap up part 1 so we know we got an awesome product with great design and great technologies that rivals the market leader Tesla. But before we start part 2, please subscribe to my channel. Researches and videos like this cost me around 15 to 20 hours of work, which will be presented to you within 15 to 20 minutes. So please subscribe, and if you think my work was not worth your subscription, you still can unsubscribe later. Let's start with the second part of this video here. I want to explain to you what happened with the merge with CCIV and why the prices dropped so suddenly. Let me recapture what happened and what situation we are in now, so we can determine if this is a buying opportunity for us or not. Lucid Air decided to do a SPAC. to get on the public stock exchange. Let me first explain what a SPAC is. Special Purpose Acquisition Company. A blank check company is a shell corporation listed on a stock exchange with the purpose of acquiring a private company, thus making it public without going through the traditional initial public offering process. So there are different ways to go public. You can do direct offering, going through a SPAC, or do an IPO. Doing a SPAC requires less procedure and is in most cases the quickest way to get into a public stock exchange. But it requires both parties to agree on a deal that works out for both of them and of course their shareholders. In short, a SPAC merger is like a marriage of a company with a sponsor. Then behind the company and the sponsors, there are investors who are like the parents and parents-in-law. The parents and the parents-in-law will have certain expectations and invest a certain amount into this marriage. In our case, the investors of CCIV have pumped the price up to $64 per stock and expect to get a 30% stake in Lucid, as you can see here. On the day of finalizing the deal, CCIV negotiated a stake of 16.1%, which has disappointed the investors who bought in for too much. They were selling their share because the cut they would get is around 50% smaller than they hoped. So the ones who bought in for too expensive would sell because they can wait after the merger and pay less than $64 to get the same amount of shares. They would roughly pay $35 for the shares. This would be the case if the share amounts and evaluations would not change until the listing. But this would be the value they would pay if everything stays the same. After the deal agreement, the ones who bought for cheap would also try to sell for 64 or between 35 to 64 because they can realize that instant profit and use that profit and initial investment to buy more shares if the evaluation stays the same on the day of the listing. It's a lot going on and there are many variables, but I hope that I could explain it in an understandable way. Let me give you another example. Just imagine a girl. In this case, CCIV gets a chance to marry a rock star. In our case, Lucid. So the parents of the girl get excited and save and raise money to impress the rock star. The rock star likes what he sees and try to figure out a deal. On the day the marriage contract should get signed, CCIV parents realize that they had put too much money on the table for the honeymoon. So they are taking that money back. The honeymoon, however, will happen and it will be the same honeymoon. CCIV parents just realized that they would have overpaid and this is why CCIV stock price fell. This being said, we have a unique situation popping up today. CCIV, which will merge with Lucid and already agreed to a stake of 16.1%, is trading for $27.82 at the time of this recording, as you can see here. I might be wrong here, but this creates a unique opportunity for us if my math is right. If investors were expecting a 30% stake with a $64 stock price on CCIV, then a stock price of 27.82 equals only 13.04% stake. Let me break this down for you. 30% divided by $64 is 0.46875% per dollar. This means for every US dollar in stock price, we expect to get 0.46875% stake in Lucid Motor Company. Now we already agreed that CCIV investors would get 16.1% of Lucid's share. So the fair price should be $34.35 because 16.1% divided by 0.46875 would be $34.35. This would align with my estimate I mentioned earlier, that who bought over 35 have to sell, and people who bought cheaply are willing to sell for a price between 35 to 64 because the fair value is at 34.35. So what does it mean for us now? We see a price of 27.82, but which should be worth 34.35. This is an upside of 23.4%, or in other words, at the moment you can get Lucid stocks on a discount through the CCIV merger. Just make sure not to pay more than 34 bucks because then it will become a bad deal. At this point, I have to say for legal reason that I'm not a financial advisor, I'm just a guy on YouTube. Do your own due diligence and remember that your money is your responsibility. I also have to say that I bought CCIV after I did the math, so I have personal interest in the stock. So take my advice and research as entertainment value only. On a fundamental basis, we get the stock for a discount here. If we are looking at the potentials Lucid has, we have a company that is rivaling Tesla but is evaluated only about like 1/8 to 1/10 of Tesla's company. So make up your mind and remember, your money is your responsibility. If you like my video, please give me a like and share the video with your loved ones. Then subscribe because you don't want to miss any other exciting stock and investment opportunities. Many thanks. See you hopefully in the next video. Thank you. Bye.